I can sum up my experience with Anthem in one word: satisfying. The game is satisfying in almost every facet of its design and execution. The way you can effortlessly transition between combat and flight exudes this complete blissful feeling. It's hard to fully articulate how damn good this game feels to play. Anthem is entirely about the feeling. The feeling of jetting off from the platform at Fort Tarsis and diving straight down into a large canyon, skimming across various rivers and waterfalls to cool your jets and continue your flight path to your next objective or destination. The feeling of sniping a Scar's head clean off in a flurry of sparks and damage numbers, or the feeling of unleashing a barrage of missiles as the Ranger and a flurry of cuts with the Interceptor. You're basically Iron Man is something I've seen quite a lot since the demo first began, and I think that is an entirely apt comparison. If you're worried about the fantasy of feeling powerful would be lost in the RPG or loot systems of the game, you need not. This is the first time in a long time, since maybe wielding the Leviathan axe in God of War, that I felt truly badass in both movement and combat. But of course there is more to Anthem than just shooting, flying, and feeling like Iron Man. At its heart, Anthem is all about that loot. It's hard to completely gauge how well the game will handle its looting systems and build development as players move into the endgame. From the small amount of time I had kind of making a build with the loot I received, I was pleasantly surprised by the variety of artillery at my Javelin's disposal. From poison darts to huge bursts of ice to laser beams and homing rockets, each piece of gear to equip in addition to your primary and secondary weapons feels unique and powerful in differing ways. Each of these pieces of artillery vastly change how you use your Javelin in combat, and lead to some incredible moments of synergizing between your own gear, but also with your teammates' gear. It's clear from my short 8-hour stint with the game that this is going to take at least a few weeks after launch to fully decipher and appreciate the complexities of the loot system, as well as the primers and detonators and how all these buffs and debuffs can coexist and assist each other. It was really hard to gauge just how complex this game was going to be just by watching footage and hearing from developers, but after going hands-on with this small slice, it's given me a much better sense of where players, including myself, will be sinking their time into the game come endgame content and the optimal build chase. But before players will be tackling Anthem's Elder Game, you'll be navigating through the game's story, which, even after playing a complete sub-arc of the story, still leaves quite a lot to mystery. We know about the evil force known as the Dominion. We know that they want to find a way to control the Anthem of Creation. We know this dude is basically Darth Sidious, and this badass mofo is Darth Vader. But apart from that, we are largely in the dark on how the conflict and story will progress and conclude in Anthem. When I did play the story content though, I was honestly, once again, pleasantly surprised by how I communicated with characters in Fort Tarsis and how they felt real and interesting and very much unlike the shells you'd come across in Destiny's Tower. These people felt like more than vendors. They have stories and lives and backstories, and from the looks of it, you'll actually be developing relationships with them separately from the game's main story, through dialogue choices and personal side quests. And to me, that's incredibly exciting, because for those who watched my previous Anthem video, I was extremely worried that BioWare was leaving their storytelling roots in the past, in pursuit of the live service genre. And I think, so far at least, they're striking a nice balance between looter shooting and an intriguing narrative experience. And I think that about wraps up all my positives with Anthem. It's so far a very fun, engaging game with a story and cast of characters that are surprisingly interesting. This demo has definitely sold me on the overall Anthem experience, but there are definitely some negatives to run through. There were moments during gameplay where the audio mix would feel a little off-balanced. Gun sounds would be delayed, enemies would be silent, the music would be incredibly loud, but characters' voices would be almost inaudible. I was worried this was because of my setup, but a few of my friends and the wider Anthem community have also stressed this issue, particularly those on PC. It's not the biggest problem I had with the game, but it was definitely distracting and it will hopefully be fixed come the game's official launch on February 15th. Speaking of PC, while Flight is awesome looking and sometimes awesome feeling, the controls themselves are a little wonky with the mouse. For those on console, when flying with a mouse, you're essentially having to move the cursor ever so slightly out of the center circle to move in the direction you desire, but then having to manually recenter your mouse every time you finish a slight change in direction. It's bearable, but adjusting from the smooth feeling of combat traversal into flight mode can be really awkward and lead to some quick, unintentional shifts in direction. A fix I'd like to see in regard to flying with the mouse would be to have the cursor always centered, and your Javelin would then move in whatever direction the camera moved to. I suppose it'd be similar to how vehicles move in Halo, you aim where you want to go. While I like how different the loot in Anthem seemingly is at this early stage, I have a slight problem with how you actually receive your loot. So for example, in Destiny, when an engram drops or a quest rewards you with a piece of gear, it is immediately added to your inventory, and you are free to equip that weapon or armor piece or whatever instantly. In Anthem, you will receive rewards as you complete missions and in free play through chests and objectives completed, just like in Destiny, except your loot won't be accessible until you finish that activity or leave free play. The problem with this method is that your loot could be potentially lost in the event of a disconnect from the server or a crash, and it was really annoying to not receive the 3 or 4 blues I'd earned 2/3 of the way through a stronghold. Having that loot disappear when the game crashes or disconnects me from the activity was a bummer. This problem was obviously amplified by the constant infinite loading screens, crashes, and error messages I experienced over the weekend. Fingers crossed that at final release, these errors and infinite loads don't occur, although I still can't help but feel that the potential to lose an epic or a masterwork piece of gear is a little worrying. Okay, so we've gone over the good, we've gone over the bad, so what about the ugly, I hear you ask? The screen shake in Anthem is relentless. It feels like every time I get into a fight, there's a sudden earthquake. It's so bad, in fact, that I had some viewers on my Twitch stream say that they couldn't watch the stream because the screen shake was too nauseating. And I'll be honest, there were a few times where I felt a little dizzy while playing in some of the larger, more intense fights. When explosions are going off every few seconds and you're flying around meleeing fools, the shake is just a little too intense for regular play. I also experienced times where enemies would spawn and then immediately disappear. This mostly occurred during free play, and also sometimes where my ultimate or lightning strike was aimed, it would instead unleash further than I anticipated, wasting those precious, highly effective abilities. But despite all of these complaints, I still vastly enjoyed my time with the game. For the most part, the game plays like a dream. It's fluid, it's chaotic, and it's a lot of effing fun. And I think that just about wraps up all I have to say on Anthem. The next time you hear about the game will be during my review in progress after the game launches. If you're on the fence about Anthem, there's an open demo going down tomorrow, so you can try the game out for yourself over the weekend. The next video coming to a screen near you will be the one I mentioned previously, the one about virtual reality and how it finally clicked for me. That should be going live tomorrow afternoon sometime, and also a quick plug for my Twitch channel. I'll be streaming Kingdom Hearts 3 tomorrow night, preparing for the KH3 review I'll be uploading on this channel. As well as that, I'll be playing and streaming the Anthem demo on Saturday night. I'm hoping to jump into the game with some of you guys, so be sure to tune into the stream and shoot me a message. And other than that, I hope you guys have a great rest of the week, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.